This weekend, the church celebrates Gaudete Sunday, the spirit of joy. This weekend is a time when the priest will wear rose vestments. So many folks will say to me this weekend, "Hey, nice pink vestment, Father." Well, it's rose, a sign of hope, the sign of joy. You know, recently the Holy Father wrote a document on the joy of the gospel. Very beautiful. This Holy Father writes so practically. You're able to digest what he says and the manner that he lives, and I think in the manner that he speaks to human hearts. But the opening paragraph, which I'd like to share with you tonight, which speaks so beautifully about joy and the necessity of having joy in our own lives. He opens this encyclical by saying, the joy of the gospel fills our hearts and all those who encounter Jesus Christ. And then he says it goes on, this joy, to do four things in our lives. Number one, it frees us from sin, from sorrow, from emptiness and loneliness. Sin, sorrow, emptiness, and loneliness. Let's talk about those. First of all, an encounter with Jesus Christ frees us from sin. God's mercy. How many times should we forgive? 70 times 7. The mercy of God heals us of our sinfulness. Remember, there's no sin that the Lord can't forgive. And the birth of the child tells us that. He calls all, even the pagans, to experience the mercy of the newborn child. Secondly, it heals us from our sorrow. For many folks, Christmas and Advent, or Advent is Christmas, it's really a time of sadness at times. Different experiences in our lives and different experiences in our vocations. And yet, Jesus Christ tells us that, He's come to bring joy. The mercy of Jesus Christ is not something that is rooted in sadness, but to overcome the sorrow. The newborn King of the Jews is born. Thirdly, it fills our emptiness. Our culture is telling us that unless you have, you are lacking. And yet, sometimes Jesus, when he permeates the darkness of our lives, he tells us that not having is actually having. Not carrying the burden of sadness. Not carrying the burden of unforgiveness. The mercy of Jesus Christ is such that he fills the emptiness with his love, with his joy. And finally, loneliness. A culture so painfully isolates us. Jesus says, don't live in isolation and loneliness, but come be part of the community of the church. A way to think about this time of Advent is to go to confession, to pray daily, but above all to go to confession and to feel the sadness, to feel that emptiness, to feel the loneliness, and to have the sin lifted by the birth of the Savior. This week, when we experience authentic joy, Gaudete Sunday, I encourage you, find the mercy of Jesus Christ. Go to confession. Let go of all of your pain. Leave those wounds there in the manger. And let the newborn child be born in your life again. Remember, this more than a sermon. It's more than a thought. It's the reality of Jesus Christ. Have a blessed week.